يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق والناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت يا حي يا قيوم تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم يا كريم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Just to continue from where we left yesterday, I know it's a Sunday afternoon, apologies, but mashallah, I do thank everyone that they've spared their time to learn about the essentials of Islam, the essential knowledge, the essential aspects of Islam, and especially one which comprises a fundamental pillar of Islam, which is Zakah. Yesterday, in the introduction, we went through the merits and the virtues of giving Zakah, and conversely speaking, the grave punishments for those people who amass their wealth and they do not give the share of the poor that is due on them from their wealth. And then we later on mention the literal meaning of Zakah. What is the meaning of Zakah? The literal meaning, Zakah. What does it mean? Lughwiyat to purify, mashallah. Saaf karna. Paako saaf karna. Hence, when someone gives zakah, they are purifying not only their wealth, they are purifying their inner state, their soul, which is the most important thing that should be taken into consideration and we should be concerned about, is to purify the inner self. Obviously, we do a detox of the body by undergoing such dietary schedules and plans, but there should be a detox of the soul. The detox of the soul is to fulfill the acts of worship, the obligations which Allah has made binding upon us. There is no greater cure and shifa for the soul than the fara'id which Allah has made binding upon His servants. If there was anything else which Allah had, wanted you to do, and which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want you to perform in order for you to gain salvation, He would have made them fara'id. But Allah has made those fara'id as fara'id so that you attain bliss and felicity and salvation when you do them properly, accurately, with ikhlas. And one of those acts of worship and obligations is zakat. So the meaning of zakat is purification, to make something clean. The second lexical meaning that we mentioned was zakal malu. Zakah means growth, mashallah, increase. So in essence, when you are giving your 2.5% zakah, you are not decreasing your wealth. Whether that 2.5% comprises of £2,500 or £250,000, at the end of the day, you are not decreasing your wealth, you are increasing it. The barakah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts from the unseen in your wealth. As for those who are ensnared with avarice and miserliness and keep on amassing their wealth, thinking that this 2.5% will be an actual decrease in my wealth, Allah will destroy the barakah from their wealth. Which is why Allah says, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِ الصَّدَقَاتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy usury. Okay? And it is haram between Muslims that if I lend money from you, a certain amount of money, and at the end I am paying more than what I had borrowed from you, this is a riba. Allah will destroy that excess. Allah will get rid of the barakah from that wealth. But what does Allah say? وَيُرْبِ الصَّدَقَاتِ. Allah will multiply, increase in multifold times the barakah in sadaqat, in charitable gifts that you give for the sake of Allah, in the way of Allah. Alhamdulillah. But for many of us, na'udhu billah, the love of this dunya is manifest in our hearts to such a degree, or you can say infested itself in our hearts to such a degree, that if zakah wasn't made fard, I don't think we would be paying anything towards the poor and the masakeen. But this, Allah subhanahu through His hikmah, He has stipulated the rights of the poor from our wealth, 2.5%. تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ وَتُرَدُّ عَلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ, which is taken from our rich and given to our poor. It is given to our own brothers and sisters. It's like a cycle. The money is flowing within our own society, our own community. Our own brothers and sisters who are deprived of even the basic necessities of living, to sustain a good basic life. When we give zakah, they are, alhamdulillah, given that opportunity to enjoy the basic necessities of life which we take for granted every single day, every single moment of our lives. Fill in the gaps, please. The 5 conditions that we had mentioned yesterday that need to be fulfilled, or that are a requirement, requisite of a person to be held liable to give zakah. 5 conditions. Number 1, obviously, to be a Muslim. Number 2, to be an adult. Number 3, sane-minded. Number 4, sahib nisab. And number 5, which is, I had to look for that one, is you should not be a slave. You should be free. Free in the sense that you're not enslaved to a master, because a slave does not have complete ownership of the wealth. So now, just to explain the technical meaning of zakah in a bit more detail, I will swiftly move through the slides, because there's quite a few slides and there's a lot of scenarios that I have collated that I want to mention to you, which may apply to a few of you, and then you can, from using analogy, base that on your own, or gear that and tailor that to your own situation. But obviously at the end it's always accurate and best to get accurate information and then see an alim ad-din with all the information that you have at hand to calculate your zakah properly. Intention can be made when paying zakah. Obviously intention was an integral part of zakah, an intention that you intend to give out zakah. When zakah is given to the agent appointed to pay on one's behalf. Agents, wukala, for example, alhamdulillah, in every night of Ramadan, we have agents who act on behalf of the recipients of zakah to collect zakah. So when you give it to them, when you hand it, when you put it into that box or that pot, you make the intention of zakah. Inshallah, that intention will be valid. Or it can also be made when you are separating the wealth, the zakah, from your wealth. So you are setting aside £1,000, £250 from your capital funds, from the accumulated wealth. At the time of you separating that amount, you have the intention in your heart that this is zakah, then this is valid. Again, just to emphasize this point here, intention is not required for you to say it verbally, it is embedded within the heart, a firm resolution within the heart. Okay. The recipient does not need to know that this is zakah money. The faqir or the gharib or the miskin or the abir al-sabil or the amilina alayha or fi sabilillah, etc. When you give them, when you hand over the zakah, when you transfer the ownership of this wealth that you are the owner of to them, they do not need to know that this is zakah money. Many a times, many fuqara, masakeen, they feel a kind of tarnishing their self-respect and self-honor when you give it to them saying zakah. So they feel hesitant. So why don't you change it and you say, I'm giving it to you as a gift. Verbally you are saying it is a gift, intention is in the heart, zakah, that's absolutely fine. Okay? Or for example, there's a wedding in a very poor family and they are eligible to receive zakah. So what you do is, for the wedding, you buy flour for them, rice for them, curry for them. Obviously I said rice and curry because the only dish that people serve in weddings, etc. And then you give them full ownership of that, then this is also a way of you giving the zakah. They do not need to know जब आप दें ज़कात किसी गरीब मिस्कीन को ये जो मुस्तहिक़ीन ज़कात है तो उस वक्त आप ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप उन्हें ये बताएं कि ये ज़कात के पैसे हैं। बहुत दफ़ा ऐसा होता है कि इज़्ज़त नफ्स की खातिर वो लोग पैसा कबूल नहीं करते हैं, इसलिए आप ज़कात के बजाय हदिया तोहफ़ा के नाम से दे सकते हैं। नीयत दिल के इरादे का नाम है। आपका इरादा ज़कात देने का ये दिल में है, बाकी आप जो ज़ुबान से के वो कहे, that is not a problem. Number 2, to make the recipient the owner of the wealth. This is obviously the conditions for the zakat to be valid. So the first was the intention. The second is you have to make the recipient have full ownership. It is for this reason I cannot, with my zakat money, buy again rice and curry and allow 100 poor people to enter my home and feed them with the intention of zakah. I need to give it to them. I need to give the food to them. Not that you invite them to your house. So giving them full ownership of the wealth, this is another condition. The wealth can be in the form of money, monetary terms, in the form of money, or in the form of a good, as I explained to you before. But you always need to remember the principle. The principle is always this. This is the principle. Whatever is better for the poor, you do that. Whatever is better, जो जिसमें गुरबा मसाकिन के लिए भलाई है, वो आप करें. If that means that you are paying £100 extra in zakah, pay an extra £100 in zakah. Inshallah, you will get the greatest reward in this dunya and multiply it even further in the akhirah. So, for example, it gives an example at the time of a famine, rather than giving the poor money because of the scarcity of resources, you might as well just buy the food and the water sources and then give it to them. So buy the food rations and provide it to them rather than giving them money. Okay, at times it's better to give them money so that they can utilize it in whatever they deem fit and appropriate. So as I mentioned to you yesterday, zakah is not valid for the building of a well, for the use of the whole community, because it's for the entire community will use it, and therefore there is no ownership in it. कुएं में मिल्कियत जाहिर नहीं होती है, मिल्कियत जो है ये वहाँ पे मुकर्रर नहीं होती. क्यों? इसलिए कि कुएं में हर कोई पानी जो है खींच के पी सकता है. एक वाहिद शख्स के लिए की मिल्कियत नहीं होती. इसीलिए कुएं खरीदने के लिए या कुआं बनाने के लिए, माफ़ कीजिए, जो ख़ास तौर पे गरीब ममालिक है वहाँ पे कुएं बनाने चाहिए हमें पानी के लिए, सहूलत के लिए. उसमें आप सिर्फ लिल्लाह की रकम इस्तेमाल कर सकते, ज़कात की रकम आप इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकते हैं. Okay? The possession of nisab. This is what we mentioned in the conditions of the eligibility or the liability of someone becoming liable to give zakah was to be sahibun nisab. A person who, literally means sahibun nisab means a person who owns nisab. What is nisab? Nisab is the minimum threshold, the minimum amount of money that a person needs to have in order for them to be liable to give zakah. I will give you 1437 after Hijrah years nisab value at the end, or later on, inshallah. And I will also tell you how we came to that value. For example, in 2005, the nisab value was £85. Now it's different. But obviously, if you did not pay zakah from the previous years, since the day you became baligh, since the day you reached the age of puberty, then you have to calculate the nisab of that year, which is easy, inshallah, I will tell you what to do. And also trying to ascertain when your year started and when your year finished, when your zakat calculable year started, when you had, for example, £85 if it was 2005. And since that day, a lunar year has passed over it, then at the end you have to give the zakah for that year as well. So you have to calculate in that manner. Okay. So a year has to pass on it, A year. What year are we talking about? According to the Gregorian calendar? No, according to the Islamic calendar. The lunar year. Yes, Qamari साल का एतबार किया जाता है, शमसी साल का एतबार नहीं किया जाता है. It has to be free from essential needs. हाजते असलिया से जायद. हाजते असलिया से जायद. Free from essential needs. The cups that you have, the cutlery that you have at home, clothes that you wear, that you may not necessarily wear. Because obviously, if you remember, many of us have not just one pair of jeans, they have 10 pairs of jeans. 10 pair of jeans, 10 pair of shoes. You are not going to, at any given time, going to wear all of them together in one go. You probably have an outlook of a person who's quite obese if you do that, but even then you don't give zakat on that. Again, with many families, especially in India, I've seen they like to display, we like to display our lights, they like to display their pots and their pans and their tupilus and their around the house and their sauces and everything. You don't give zakat on that. You only give zakat on them items if they are for commercial purposes, if they are kept for business purposes. Same with our women folk, our sisters, may Allah bless all of them. Their wardrobes are filled with clothes. So one item of clothing that they've worn in one wedding, they will not wear it ever in their entire life. It's still there. So if it's not for commercial purposes, if it's not to be resold, then there is no zakat on that. And use the same analogy for everything else. It should be mal nami, which means wealth of a productive nature, something which has the potential to grow. I'll explain that later on. Number 4, free from debt. I'm also going to mention this. Otherwise, what will happen is many rich people, they take everything on credit. So they are in debt. So they earn £100,000 every single year, and they're giving no zakat. If we were to apply this principle, it needs elaboration, okay? So just don't take this as a pinch of salt. I'm going to elaborate it later on. Free from debt is not just free from debt, there's the blueprint underneath, okay? We saw many smiles on people's faces. Possession, obviously it has to be in your ownership. Haqiqatan or majazan. I'm going to explain that later on. So possession, I'm giving you an example here. Possession, I got it right with me right now. Or it's in the bank. Or it's my money and I will have access to it when I reach a certain number of age. This is also in your possession. Okay? Hence, if I give a qard to someone, if I lend money to someone, it is by significance in my possession, isn't it? It's my money that he will lend me, that he will return back to me. So therefore, you will also give zakat on the money that you have lent to other people. I'm going to explain that later on as well, inshaAllah. Allahu Akbar. Okay. The nisab that makes zakat obligatory, the minimum amount of wealth a person must possess in order for zakat to be paid on. This is the nisab. There's 2 types of nisab. The nisab that you need, the amount of wealth that you need as a bare minimum that makes you liable to give zakat. Then there is another nisab that makes one an ineligible recipient for zakat. That if they have such an amount of wealth, whether they be in India or Africa or Pakistan or whatever, they are not allowed to receive the zakah. We will also explain that later on. Okay? And in terms of the people involved in zakah, there's 3 types of people: those who pay the zakah, those who receive the zakah, and those who do not pay the zakah but are neither eligible to receive zakah. Right. So, as I told you before, the zakat is based on the lunar year. The lunar year consists of approximately about 354 days. So some people say, okay, you spoke about nisab, ownership of wealth, but I lost, I had £1,000 and I lost £500, or I spent it in the middle of the year. Whatever happens in the middle of the year is not taken into consideration. What is taken into consideration is the beginning and the end, especially the end. At the end, if you have the amount of wealth which is more than the nisab threshold, that I'm going to explain later on, then you have to give zakah on all these zakatable assets that you have, whether they're in the form of the check, whether they're in the form of savings accounts, or whether they're in the form of a qard that you have given someone, whether they're in the form of business goods, commercial goods, properties that are you required to sell, etc., etc., etc. Yes? So whatever happens in between is not taken into consideration. The only thing that is taken into consideration, what happens in the middle, is when you go below zero. Even below the nisab, you go below zero, when you become, like you can say, bankrupt. When someone's got money at the beginning of the zakat calculable year, and in the midst of it, na'udhu billah, thumma na'udhu billah, they fall into a state of bankruptcy. They become bankrupt, liquidated. They have zilch. Then that year has been nullified. Their new zakat calculable year will start the very first day, the very first hour in which they have in their possession the nisab. So from that day, I'll give you an example. Abdullah. Who's Abdullah here? I'm an Abdullah, inshallah. Everyone's an Abdullah. Abdullah's zakat calculable year starts from the 1st of Muharram and obviously ends on the 1st of Muharram. But in the middle, in the month of Jumad al-Ula, he lost all of his wealth. And he went below zero, sub-zero. So now he will not calculate zakah after the couple of months in the 1st of Muharram. His year has now been abolished, nullified. His new year starts when he receives the new sum of nisab. So say for example, Jumad al-Ula, he was well below, he was sub-zero. But then Jumad al-Ukhra, Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan. MashaAllah, in Ramadan, on Eid day he received gifts which equated to the nisab value. So £215 he received on the day of Eid, on the very day of Eid, which is the 1st of Shawwal. He now brought himself up to the nisab value. When will his new year start? Are you with me? You need to be with me because there are 1st of Shawwal. Yeah. Post Ramadan. Thank you. Yeah. The 1st of Shawwal will now be his new zakat calculable year. So generally speaking, whatever happens in between, it doesn't matter. Some people come to us and say, Maulana sir, I have a house and rent, I collect the rent, but then I fix the lights, I put xenon lights on, I wanted some disco lights on, I put a 20-inch plasma screen, I did all the carpets, did all the renovating, reconstruction, I spent 10 grand in it. Am I allowed to minus that at the end? Obviously not. You've spent it, it's already been minus from the capital anyway. Okay?
The income is expensive.
Yes, inshallah. Increase in nisab during the year. Pay zakah on the final amount after the year, although all of that amount may not be in possession for a whole year. This is very important. Okay, does anyone know their zakat calculable year, any accurate one? Can you tell me your? 6th of Muharram, okay. 6th of Muharram. So from 6th of Muharram until 6th of Muharram, okay? I'm calculating my zakat from the 6th of Muharram until the 6th of Muharram. On the 5th of Muharram, a day before, I received £5,000 donations, yani hadiyah, gift, from Haji Sahib. Allah bless him. A gift, a lump sum of £5,000 one day prior to my zakat year ending. Do I have to give zakat on that or not? Someone answer. Who says no? Only one person says no? Who says yes? Who's confused.com? Okay, that's fine. Remember the first rule that we said, a year has to pass over that wealth. But some people get confused with this. Let me just explain the ruling now. On the 5th of Muharram, I received £5,000. I will add that to the entire accumulated wealth at the end, and I will also give zakat on that. Rather, if you are calculating to the very minute, which you should do, your year ending on the very minute, 10 minutes before or an hour before your zakat year ends, you received a lump sum of amount of money, zakatable asset. You will also add it to all of the wealth that you have. So you will add £5,000 in this case to all of the wealth that you have, and you will give zakat on it. Imagine zakat like a pot. Yeah? That's the year. The pot is like the year. Whatever you put in it, whether it comes last minute or 10 months before, it will, all of the pot you will give zakat on. Yeah? Irrespective of you earning it or attaining it, accumulating it 1 minute before, 1 month before, 6 months before. या मसला आपको समझ में आया? अगर आपके ज़कात का साल जो पूरा हो रहा है, उससे एक दिन पहले, बल्कि उससे 1 घंटा पहले आपको मजीद कुछ पैसे मिले, तो उन सारे पैसों को आप मिला करके उन सारे पैसों पर ज़कात देंगे. ये नहीं कि ये 1 दिन पहले आए इसलिए ज़कात नहीं, उस पे भी ज़कात देनी है, उस पे भी zakat dini hai. You see, the first step that we all need to do is to go home and do our calculations and find out when our year started and when our year ends. People who are reaching adolescence or have just, mashallah, blossomed, it is very easy for them. So make sure that you're on top of, you keep tabs with all of this. And I told you before, if the nisab is destroyed during the year, then obviously that, you go below 0, then that you start your new year as soon as you bring yourself back up to the nisab value. Now, the delay in payment of zakah without a valid reason. I'm going to do nasiha to everybody here. Whether they are charities who collect money, individuals who collect money on behalf of these recipients of zakah, whether you are the ones who are taking out your zakat but you are delayed in giving it, all of you, all of us, it is a sin. Remember, zakah is fard, therefore it is haram. The opposite of fard is haram, just to make it easy. Fard qat'i. It is haram for someone to delay in paying the zakah, whereas they do have the money, it is haram for them to delay it. And it is also haram and unlawful for those charity organizations, whoever they may be, for whomsoever they may be collecting on behalf of, for them to amass that wealth, whether they be a masjid, whether they be an organization, to amass that wealth, whether it be zakah, whether it be sadaqatul fitr, they will be held responsible. Everyone who has a position of authority in that masjid, in that charitable organization, they will be held accountable for delaying the zakah, for delaying the amount of wealth that people gave to be received to be given to the recipients. I'll give you one example about zakatul fitr, sadaqah fitr. The Messenger ﷺ said a person's fast remains intact unless and until he pays sadaqatul fitr. I'm just giving an example here. But if we keep on amassing people's wealth, what has happened to their fasts? They've trusted us, they've put us in a place of trust, and we are breaching that trust. The Prophet ﷺ said it clearly in the hadith, one of the signs of Qiyamah is when a person is, when the amanat, when people who breach the trust. I'm in a position of trust, and if I exploit this position, then na'udhu billah min dhalik, I am a great sinner. So people need to be very careful as to whom they give the zakat. I'm also going to highlight this very point, that zakat money is not allowed, you are not allowed to pay zakat to such organizations. Just hear my words properly, okay? Then don't go around and start Chinese whispers. More said you can't give zakat to people who sit on TV channels. I'm saying this is a very valid point here. You are not allowed to give zakat money to those charitable organizations who go on these TV channels to do fundraising and they give an X amount of a percentage of your money which you gave for zakah to pay for the expenses of advertisement and that TV expenses that go in their pockets. You're not allowed to give that. So you give £100 at the end, only 10,000 goes to the poor person. What's the benefit? In essence, you're not paying your zakah. The agent in between should tell you, you know what, brother, £75 of policy has gone to X, Y, and Z channel. Only £25 have gone to the poor people. Please, obviously, he's not going to ask you back. You're going to probably slap him on the face. You need to give that £75. So it's very important. It's a grave reality. It's a bitter truth. Truth is always bitter. But we should have a sound heart and sound mind to accept the truth whenever it is made manifest. This is a sign of tawadu, of ikhlas in a person's heart. Okay.
Not like wages or something or anything.
That's a different matter. If there are some charitable organizations who have what do you call it, gift aid, where the actual money that they are receiving from the government is the tax that you would have paid the government, they are receiving that. So that's not zakah, that's a separate issue. If that's the case, that's fine, to pay for the expenses, because obviously it takes time for a person to collect the zakah, generate the invoices and do all the admin work. It's time consuming, so therefore, the Prophet ﷺ said the work of the deen in latter days will happen through the rahim al-anid. You'll have to pay money to do work for the deen. Someone, if everyone was to do it for a freebie, no one's going to do it. Freebie imam, a freebie whatever. You won't have them, because everyone needs to sustain their life. Okay, everyone has those kilowatts of energy that electricity that they've burnt to pay for in the form of a bill at the end. Nonetheless, those things that a person commonly needs and without them great difficulty is faced, those are known as hajat asliya, basic necessities. I think I need to move on swiftly, okay? I've explained that. I'm just going to skip that. Okay. The money that you're giving zakat on needs to be free from debt, a dain. Zakah is not obligatory if payment of debt results in no longer possessing nisab. But what kind of debt are you talking about? Say for example, I have £5,000 that I need to give zakat on, but I also owe person X £10,000. So I am in essence minus 5,000. So therefore I will not give zakah. But then the question is, which kind of debts are we talking about? Because there are many businessmen, mashallah, who remortgage their houses, their businesses, taking everything on credit, their cars on credit, their business goods on credit, their clothes on credit, they are on credit, everything's on credit. This entire world economy revolves around riba. Okay? And you have to be very careful. The ulama have mentioned to take out a credit card, you need to have surety and assurance and certainty that you will pay the money back to the bank within the allocated days. It's about, how many days is it? If you take something credit? 45 days. Otherwise they will give a surcharge penalty for every day that you delay. If your situation is such that you cannot afford that item but you take it in credit and you have no assurance in the future that you will have enough money to pay for that thing that you took on credit, then it is haram for you to take that credit out, to take the item out on credit. Because it's haram to pay interest, to pay usury. Let's just reword that, usury. The extra amount that you give to the non-Muslims. But people are taking everything. Youngsters are now taking mobile phones and credit. I want a mobile phone, iPhone 6, because I can't live without it. Before we learn that you need water, you need oxygen for sustainability of life. Today, for the youngsters, it's an iPhone. They can't live without it. Taking things on, accumulating debt upon debt upon debt, and they're shattering their lives. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, if a person dies in a state that he has a debt over him, that he is responsible to free that debt, but he did not do so before dying, his soul remains in suspense, mu'allaq, until his debt is repaid, or her debt is repaid. So these are, things that we need to ponder over. Live a simple life. Simplicity. even with that simplicity sim that you have from whatever company, doesn't, mirror the actual essence of the meaning. Simplicity, simple life. You don't need to go OTT in order to compete with one another. Allah describes the dunya as هذه الدنيا لهو ولعب وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. This dunya, the parable of this world is what? Play, amusement, and boasting over one another, competing with one another in terms of amassing wealth, in terms of goods, in terms of items of entertainment, this, Y, and Z, latest pair of trainers, latest pair of glasses, latest pair of X, Y, and Z. Okay, it shouldn't be like that. Simple life. Okay, so now the question, very important question. क्या हर कर्ज मानि'i zakat है? Is every debt a prevention to zakah? Let me explain that. Debt sought by people, is a prevention to zakah. I had borrowed £5,000 from you for the renovation of my house for whatever purposes, then I can minus that. Debt which is not sought by people is not a prevention, such as a vow. मैंने मिन्नत मानी कि अगर मेरा बच्चा एग्जाम में पास हो गया तो मैं अल्लाह ताला की राह में गरीबों को 100 पाउंड दूंगा और दूंगी, obviously because it's predominantly Allah bless them, mashallah. So you can't minus the £100. You've initiated that vow, it's not sought by people, so you cannot minus that. Expiation kafara, a kafara that you have to give. You cannot minus that amount of money. For example, the kafara or the fidya for fasts. You cannot minus that amount of money from, if it's in that very month that you are paying the zakah, you're not allowed to minus that. Okay? Sadaqatul fitr, again, you're not allowed to minus. Qurbani money that you've put aside, you're not allowed to minus that. Okay? Previous year's unpaid zakah is a prevention. पिछले सालों की जो आपने ज़कात अदा नहीं की, ये मान इस साल की ज़कात के का माने हो सकती है. किस तरीके से? If person A, na'udhu billahi min dhalik, he did not know about zakah, he just took zakah as a joke. He said, zakah, when I become healthy, 40, when I become a big tycoon, business tycoon, only then I'll give zakah. Zakah obviously is obligatory with all the conditions that we mentioned before. And then he did not pay the previous year's zakah, and all of those previous year's zakah accumulated to £5,000. And now he only has 5,100. So minusing that 5,000 from the previous year's zakat, he's only left with £100, which is not zakatable this year. So he gives the previous year's zakat, yes, but this year's has been nullified. You understand? Falling in debt after zakat became obligatory is not a prevention. Zakat was forced on you on this very day. Take the example 6th of Muharram. I did not pay my zakat on the 6th of Muharram. I kept on procrastinating. अगले साल, अगले महीने, अगले हफ्ते. जब मेरा हफ्ता भरेगा, उस वक्त में कहते हैं हफ्ता भरना. When you get your wage, this is something what you say in Gujarati. Yeah? And then the person became bankrupt. That is not an excuse for them not to pay the previous year's zakat. They still have to pay the previous year's zakat. The deadline was the 6th of Muharram. Obviously, I'm using deadline as if you enter in and out of the danger zone and you have to now give it out. So you delayed it, and then you brought upon yourself such a state that you no longer are liable to give zakat. You still have to give zakat for the previous year. Okay? Dowry which needs to be paid to the wife is not a prevention. Rijal, give your women folk their dowry, their meher. Meher cannot be deducted from the assets that you have at the end, from the value at the end. Now there's another common mistake I'm going to highlight here. A husband and wife are separate entities. शौहर और बीवी दोनों के अलग अलग ज़कात के हिसाब है. बाज़ औरतें ये कहती हैं कि देखो हमारा शौहर जो है वो मकरूज है, तो हम ज़कात नहीं देंगी। पूछा जाए उनसे क्यों? इसलिए कि शौहर है हमारे। तो इससे पता चला कि शौहर की ज़कात का हिसाब अलग है और आपका हिसाब है अलग है। आप जो सोना पहन रही है उस पर तो ज़कात दीजिए। बाज़ औरतें ये भी ख्याल करती है कि जो सोना पहना जाता है उसमें ज़कात नहीं, उसी की तो ज़कात है। और भी दूसरी चीजें जो घर में रखी है सोने ज़कात की, उसमें भी ज़कात है, सोने या चांदी की। Someone they have this common misconception that the rings that they wear, the bracelets, the anklets, the necklaces, the ear studs, the nose studs, the forehead studs, I don't know, lip studs, tongue studs, whatever they wear. You shouldn't do that anyway, smoothla. You don't give zakat on that. You do give zakat on that. Even those items that you are wearing in terms of gold and silver, they give zakat on it. So the hisab of the wife is separate, the hisab of the husband is separate. So they can't, find a leeway. So the woman's maqroos in debt. So the husband says, you know what, I can't give zakat because she's in debt. Or the husband's in debt, so she finds a leeway. She says, he's in debt, so I'm not going to pay zakat. They can't do that. Separate entities, separate calculation. Okay, and they also need to calculate the tola and then convert that to grams, convert the grams per gram, what is the amount for gold, and then times that by the amount of the weight that they have for their gold and give the zakat the 40th of it. Allahu Akbar. You know what? Okay, I'm just going to skip. I'm going to move on to you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, the current 1436 to 1437 year nisab is what you see on the screen here. So convert the gold, which was 20 mithqal from the traditions, is 20 mithqal. 20 mithqal. 20 mithqal का इस ज़माने में जदीद एतबार से कितना वजन है? 87.47 grams of gold. ये सोने का निसाब बनता है। चांदी का निसाब कितना था? 200 dirham. In this lineage, the weight of that equates to 612.41 grams. 612.41 grams. So what you do now is this. Okay. 1 gram of gold, I checked, I may be inaccurate, but this is the rough amount. There's websites, you can go kitco.com, not KitKat, Kitco, and other genuine websites, not all website that, anytime that you can hire exports in it, you can put any calculations for zakat. Gold is, 10 pounds per gram. Not the case. Current day value of gold per gram is 1 gram equals 28 pounds. So therefore, if someone only has gold, no money whatsoever, no other zakatable assets, no business goods, nothing whatsoever, they only have gold, and their gold is less than, in amount less than 2,440 pounds, they don't give zakah. Yes, many people have this. They have gold, they have cash, they have gold, they have silver, they have gold, they have business goods. So money which is in other form. So what they do is they do this, which is for everybody, mostly. 99% of the people. Is you go to this nisab, silver nisab. 1 gram of silver is approximately 35 pence. Back in those days, 2005, it was 13 pence, I think, which then equated to the nisab of that year being 85 pounds. So low at that time. Now it's risen to 35 pence per gram. So therefore the new nisab that you need, the minimum threshold that a person needs to be liable to give zakah is 215 pounds approximately. Approximately, if you had 215 pounds for 1 lunar year. I explained to you what 1 lunar year means. Whatever happens in between, I'll also explain all of that. You've got the £215 now or more, you give zakat on the entire amount of wealth that you have got, whether it's in the form of bonds, whether it's in the form of checks, which are unbanked, you've not banked them yet because they bounce, whether they're in the form of money that you expect from people, the money that you have lent out to people, whether in the form of commercial goods, whether they're in the form of rent that you receive, whether they're in the form of the houses that you put on the market for sale, whether it's on the piece of land that you put on the market for sale, you give zakat on that. I will come on to houses later on. Do you understand? So if someone's got £215, nowadays what's happening is this. Alhamdulillah, nowadays what's common amongst families is that, alhamdulillah, the government does give child benefit for the benefit of children, so to speak. It's their money, right? So when they become baligh, it is the onus is on the parents to ensure that they make their children who are sane-minded, obviously tick all the boxes that we mentioned before they've reached adolescence, that you have got £500 in your child benefit account. What else do you have in terms of zakatable items like cash, or he's selling tomatoes, for example, in his house, so the value of that. So all of that needs to be added together, and 2.5% of that needs to be given. Even if they are children, they're no longer children, they're now adults, right? लोग मुझे भी बच्चा समझते हैं, बच्चे हैं मेरे बच्चे. Come on. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Shukr Allah. Yeah. So the pre-pubescent children, वो लोग बच्चे हैं. When they reach the age of 13, or the signs of adult, that's a bare minimum, right? That's or the maximum for women. Obviously, for sisters it's different. The age of puberty is different. Okay. The books of fiqh do say it's between the age of 9 and 12 for girls. So there's signs. So it's relative to each person. So they need to know the changes in their life in order for these responsibilities to be made binding upon them. Okay. So if someone had £215, whether it's in your benefit account, whether it's in the form of cash, bonds, whatever, you have to now give zakat on it with all the conditions that we mentioned to you before. And the value of gold and silver fluctuates for each year. I told you 11 years ago what the value was, nisab, £85. So if you're giving previous year's zakat, you need to track back. They have charts there, and you can calculate the value of silver per gram, and then you can know the value for silver, the nisab for silver for that year by calculating the amount according or relative to that specific year. Okay? So 2005, which year was that? Islamic is talking about. 1437 is 2016. This is a mathematical equation for all of you to pick your brains if you've got some left from Suhoor. So minus 11 years 25, from 37?
25.
26. 14, 26. Thank you. That was the year. So with zakat, mashallah, it develops your mathematical skills. People become Einstein at the end. Like some people here, mashallah. Right. Wealth that has been purchased with the intention of trade. If no intention at the time of purchase, I purchased this mobile phone with the intention to use it. I purchased, it was gifted by the way, purchased, for example, hypothetically, with an O, this blazer, with the intention to wear it, not with the intention of trade, not with the intention to sell it, then it is not considered as a trading stock. You don't give zakat on it. It is purchased with the intention of trade, but then later changed to be used for personal means. Yeah? So it was purchased, this was used to sell. But then I thought, I'm going to use it. So now, no longer zakat on it. It's no longer regarded as a commercial good. Now with regards goods and the stock that people have, you know, in their shops, in their business, okay, that is to sell, you will calculate the current market value, the current selling value of that item. Say for example, I sell seashells on the seashore, any whatever. Give me something, give me an example please.
Any sweet or...
Sweets, mashallah, let's say, subhanallah, sweets. I sell penny sweets. And I have 2,000 penny sweets, which I purchased for 0.5 of a pence or a shilling, and I'm selling it for a pence. How much is that? 2,000 times by 1 is 2,000 pence. So how much is that in terms of pounds?
20.
Huh? Only 20 pounds? So low, only 20 pounds. So that's 20 pounds. Here, sorry, no zakat. It is 20 pounds. No zakat on that. Obviously, accumulate, you add it together with all the other stock. And with everything you have, cash, etc., 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 it all comes to 250 pounds or more, you give zakat on everything. Even if that's the penny is only 20 pounds, you still give zakat on that. When they all accumulate together and they accumulate the nisab value. So now, just 3 questions. Jewelry. Do you give zakat on jewelry?
Yes.
Yes. Wearing it or not wearing it? When you receive necklaces, anklets, bracelets, waistlets, bangles, not bangles, is that's what people do on bonfire night, etc. Whether they're wearing it or whether they've kept it in their safe, in their treasure boxes for life, they give zakat on it. Gold and silver. Now, let me clarify one point here. Platinum. For men, they are not allowed to wear any kind of jewelry, any kind of metal, save a silver ring, which does not weigh more than 4.23 in one collection is 4.3 grams, which has to have a stone or which has to have a name engraved on it. So all those who are, inshallah, imminently going to be moved from a BA to an MA level, so from being bachelors to a marital status, ensure that when you have your wedding ring, it is a halal wedding ring. Start your wedding in a halal way. You're not allowed to wear a platinum ring. Yes, if you do have a platinum ring will be problematic, and you put it on the side, wherever you store it, you have to give zakat on it. Platinum value is more than the value of gold. You do give zakat on it. Yes? Do you understand this point? Now, there is one type of jewelry which, if it's used for if it's for personal use, you don't give zakat on it. Diamonds, natural stones, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, whatever. Okay? Now, some people also try and find a loophole. I am giving zakat in the month of Ramadan. Say for example, my year does genuinely finish in Ramadan. So I'm giving out my zakat in Ramadan. But then later on I've saved up for Hajj. So I've set aside, nowadays it's approximately, how much is it for Hajj? UK hisab say. 4,500, mashallah. A whooping 4,500, 5 grand. Plus obviously your food kharcha. So people put another grand, £6,000 to the side, and you say it's Hajj money. You still have to give zakat on it. You've not gone to Hajj yet, have you? So that's still in your possession, you give zakat on that. बाज़ लोग इस तरह भी हिला करते हैं, 6,000 पाउंड माइनस कर देते हैं. क्यों? इसे हज में जाना है 2-3 महीने के बाद. भाई साहब अभी zakat आपकी जो है उसमें है, मिल्कियत में है, लिहाजा आपको उसके zakat देनी है. Okay? Shops, what do you give zakat? In what aspect of the shop do you give zakat? On the amount of carton boxes that you've got, cardboard boxes, cartons, the goods that you have inside. Okay? So you do a stock control and you calculate the buying price or the selling price? The selling price, the current market value of those goods that you have for business purposes inside that shop. Okay. Allahu Akbar. Okay, deposits that you put on the side. You know, I am going to pay a deposit to someone for whatever in the next month. You can't minus it yet. Okay, you still add it. It's still in your possession. Okay, if it's within that month, and for example, a mortgage monthly installment, then you are allowed to minus that month's monthly installment only. So if I'm paying £500 mortgage payment installments every single month, a monthly installment of £500 as mortgage for my house, I can minus that £500 in that very month in which I am taking out my what? No, my zakah. Houses given on rent. If you have a house, one house that you give out on rent, obviously at the end, the money that you receive either in halal cash in the hand or you've banked it, it goes directly into the bank. At the end, you will calculate whatever you have in your possession, whatever you've accumulated in terms of rent, whatever you have, you will calculate zakat on that. You may not have any rent left because you have reinvested that rent in terms of refurbishing the house. So then you don't give zakat. But at the end, whatever you got, you give zakat. Simple as that. Now there are other types of houses. A house that I have bought with the intention to sell, and a year has passed on it, what will you do? You will calculate the current market value of that house that you have put on the market for sale. So say, for example, I purchased the house for £80,000. Now the current market value at the end of the zakat calculator is £150,000. It's not sold yet. You still give zakat on the current market value of the house, which is £150,000. £150,000, I said here. £150,000. Do you understand? So there's a difference here. Houses on rent. Or if you just purchase the house for your siblings, for your brothers, for your sisters, you're kind enough to purchase a house for Malsa, and it's just there, not getting any rent from it, you not put it on the market, then there's no zakat on it. Okay? Same with people who have 2-3 cars. One in the garage, one in the front garden, one in the back garden. Obviously, you should have enough space for you to allow. No zakat on it, if it's not for trading purposes. Which then brings me on to another aspect of our livelihood, which is a very important aspect, which is what? Taxi. If I sorry, apologies. If I have purchased a taxi, obviously to drive people around, drive people around as a rosy, as a living, to commute people, transport them, whiz them or shoot them off from one place A to place B, you don't give zakat on that taxi. Because it's a means of livelihood. Yeah. Do you give zakat on your TV sets, your computers, your fridges, your washing machines that are in your home for usage, for your own personal usage? Do you give zakat on them? No. Because some people have grown in terms of the TV screens, 18-inch, 20-inch plasma screens, fridges. They've now moved on to American beast-sized fridges. Same with washing machines. Probably throwing people inside. Right, display ornaments that you have, a frame, a beautiful frame of Masjid-e-Noorul Islam, mashallah, you can't give any value to that. Any other frames that you got, ornaments, do you give zakat on that? No. Private funds, like what? If you have invested in a pension scheme, okay, there's many, obviously, but just giving you a bold ruling here. If, for example, in every month I receive my wage, a certain percentage goes to the pension pot, which you don't see until the age of, inshallah, Allah give you a long life, inshallah. Yeah, 67, whatever. You still give zakat on it. It's like a qard that you've given somebody, and then you anticipate it coming back. So there's two ways. Either you pay it every single year, or at the end when you are 67 years old, you've got your grandchildren, mashallah, around you, then you say, this pound, us saal ke 100 pound, each pound, okay, then you do that. Obviously with sanality, being seen, it's difficult, so do it every single year. Okay? Same with qard. Let me just elaborate on that. Qard, if I've lent someone £5,000 and I decide, give it to me in 5 years, give it to me whenever it's possible for you, then for every single year at the end I will add £5,000 which are owed to me by Fulan ibn Fulan at the end when I calculate my zakah. You understand? And I will give zakat every single year. This is the best option. The other option is what? Which the ulama do not advise, is that at the end when you receive your qard, then you give zakat for all the previous years. So the hassle of going through all the nisab, calculating the nisab again, silver value, going on KitKat, whatever it was, .com, and calculating the nisab value, and then going through all your bank statements, etc., adding it, whatever. Okay, so to be on the safe side, be safe. Gifts. If you've received a gift, I've received this as a gift, I'm using it for personal use, there is no zakat on it. Yes, if I've received a gift and now I am intending to, yes, then there's zakat. There's a difference here, okay? Okay, let me skip that. Haram wealth. Do you give zakat on that or not? No, so what do you do with it? Because what is the essence of zakah? To purify. Can you purify haram? Haram is haram. Inna al-halala bayyin wa inna al-harama bayyin. Okay. Haram wealth has to be given away to its dutiful owners, to the owners who are rightful of that wealth. And you are not even allowed to keep the intention of thawab. If they're not there, then obviously there's other rulings. Give it away in sadaqah without the intention of reward. You're giving haram and you're expecting something in return. Come on. What kind of business are you doing? You as in not you, generally. Now we do that. So haram wealth, no zakat, it has to be given to the due owners. Right, I'm just going to finish off with this slide. The recipients of zakah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Holy Quran, Al-Kalim, there's an ayat of the Quran. Okay, these are the recipients of zakah. إنما الصدقات إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل. جزاك الله. The poor. Okay. Who is a poor person? A poor person is someone who has wealth but not to the amount of the nisab. His wealth is below the nisab. You are allowed to give zakat to them. They have no other assets. All of their assets together accumulated equates to below the nisab value. You are allowed to give zakat to them. Or they do have a nisab, but that nisab is occupied by a debt. You know the example I gave you about £5,000 and £10,000 further. So he's in minus 5,000. So they are shar'an faqir. Miskeen. Who is a miskeen? A miskeen has no wealth whatsoever, not even less than a nisab, has nothing. And he's become indigent and he's become dependent on others even for the meal for that day. With many brothers of ours in Syria, etc., in India, Pakistan, they are of this category. The collector of zakah, obviously there are many conditions of a collectors of zakah, okay. He who has been designated by the Islamic government, by the Muslim ruler, to collect for zakah. Okay, there are certain conditions you can find in the books of fiqh. A slave, a mukatab, someone whose emancipation, yani freeing, being set free, is based on or is conditioned on him bringing an X amount of wealth to the master. You can give this money to the slave, give him full ownership of it to ease and facilitate in his emancipation, freedom. Someone who is indebted, we mentioned that to you before, so as long as he doesn't have any of the nisab, you're allowed in the path of Allah. Someone who is, fighting in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has left everything, nothing whatsoever, they are allowed to receive zakat. Even a student of the sacred knowledge, who is dedicated to knowledge of the deen and knowledge of the deen only. Let me just elaborate here, not any other student. Student of the sacred knowledge, dedicated his entire life in learning and inshallah in teaching, okay, such that he is unable to work, such that he doesn't have the time to work because he's already occupied in learning the deen, and he's completely dedicated himself to study, not just 2 hours, madrasa, then you are allowed to give them zakah. Okay? So this is regarded as fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about a talibul ilm, a person who comes out of his home with sincerity and dies in the way of Allah in search of knowledge. He dies as a shaheed. This is the maqam of acquiring sacred knowledge. A wayfarer, a traveller, who during his journey has lost all amount of wealth, has no access to wealth whatsoever. He may have it in his own home country, but he has no access to it whatsoever. There is no means for him to bring it. Obviously now it's very easy. But in a scenario where you land in no man's land and no access to money, etc. Okay, then someone meets you and gives you zakah. Obviously at that time you need food and water or whatever. You don't need money at that time. So they are allowed to give you zakah in the form of money, in the form of goods, whatever. Okay. Right. Who can take zakah? Brothers, sisters, blood brothers, blood sisters, they are allowed to take zakah. In fact, in terms of giving zakah, you should prioritize in giving it first to your close relatives. They have a greater right on you. And when you give it to them, you will have multifold reward, double the reward. One, for siltul raham, making ties of kinship, and secondly, extending the hand of help, giving them financial support. भाई को दे सकते हैं, बहन को दे सकते हैं, paternal, maternal, uncle, यानी चचा और मामू, इनको दे सकते हैं. Sons, daughters-in-law, यानी son-in-law, damad, ya, bahu, sorry, I meant. Stepfather, stepmother, okay, you are allowed to give it to them. They are not your usul and they are not your furu. Okay? And stepchildren, not your own, stepchildren. Who cannot take zakah? What did we say at the very beginning? Zakah is, in essence, you purifying it. It's like the residue that's left at the end of the sieve, the distiller, taking it away. Or in a certain furnace, the wealth is taken, the metal is put in, you have the pure item at the end, you have the dirt. So therefore, by this notion, Hashimi, which not only means the direct descendants of Rasulullah through Sayyidina Imam al-Hasan Imam al-Hussein, through Sayyidina Bibi Fatima whom you know as Shurafa, Sharif, or Sadat, even Al Ja'far, Al Aqil, etc., whose lineage reaches the Messenger through Hashim. The Prophet explained this, Hashim, who are regarded as Hashimi, all their slaves, they are not allowed to take zakah. Zakah is the dirt of the people, and Allah has said about Ahlul Bayt, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ رِجْسَ أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Allah has completely cleansed them from all filth, inwardly and outwardly. Who else is not allowed to take zakat? Your origin, your father, your mother, your dada, your daddy, You know, some people call their, yani, if it's, yani, off, it's connected via. They say, ye mere dada hai, whereas it's via dada. So they're not really their dada, their paternal grandfathers, or their maternal grandfathers, nana. Same principle. I can call Haji Sahib nana out of respect. It doesn't mean that he's become part of the lineage. Yeah, so this is again on this category, who can take zakat? I'm just giving an example here, okay? Or mean dada, nana. So usul, your origin. So origin should be from the ground. So imagine like a tree trunk growing up, so your roots. So your direct mothers of your direct mother, your direct father, your dada, your daddy, your nana, your nan. They are your usul, your roots. And then they branch. MashaAllah, inshallah, Azza wa Jalla, Allah will bless all of you. They will blossom. So from one Abdullah, we have 5 Abdullahs. Alhamdulillah, Azza wa Jalla, barakah. You can't give it to your children. And from the one Abdullah, or the 5 Abdullahs, you have, each one had 2, 3 others. And you're talking grandchildren here, so you can't give it to them. You're not allowed to give it to your wife. एक साल तू मुझे देगी, एक साल मैं तुझे दूंगा. You can't do that. I clarified one point, didn't I? Zakat का हिस्सा उनका भी अलग है और आपका अलग है. So your being in debt doesn't affect her. She still has to give zakat if she has the assets equivalent to nisab or more than that, whether it's in the form of jewelry, etc., gold, silver. You are not allowed to give zakat to, obviously, the end, a non-Muslim, because it's a sacred wealth, and obviously to non-Muslims who are worthy of being supported, we should support everybody, as Islam is a religion of humanity, and give them lillah, sadaqah nafila, etc. Okay? Right. Just want to clarify one of 2 points. MashaAllah. Does anyone have any questions before that? Yes.
Yes, about the zakat. One person said that he's going to calculate the zakat. Obviously, he won't calculate zakat by 20 per gram.
Okay.
So, is that zakat?
But if he's taken that amount from a genuine source, genuine, reliable, trustworthy source, not Sheikh Google, but clarified it and authenticated it with the jewelry shop, whatever, because they know the exact value, current market value.
Yeah,
and then at the end they gave a value less than what is commonly known to other people, and he acquired that information through valid, authenticated sources, then that's valid. But obviously once he realizes his mistake, he has to compensate for the amount that he's not given in terms of zakat. Yeah. So I do understand some people may calculate it as £20, some people may calculate gold to be £28. So again, you have to. What was the principle? What was the principle I mentioned to you before? Always look for what is better for the poor. So adding value to the gold, getting the highest value would be better. Okay.
What is the maximum value you can give as a zakat to a poor?
Sorry, can you just repeat that again? Sorry.
How much is the zakat?
What is the maximum amount I can give to a faqir? Okay, yeah, this is it depends. I'll give you an example. A faqir needs a house building. They will need more money. But a faqir who does have, but less than nisab, may just need 100, 200, 300 pounds for everyday need. Okay? So you give it that amount. I understand where you're coming from. You do not give them so much that they become sahibul nisab themselves, that they then have to give zakah once the year passes on that. You understand this point?
But sahib is only 215 pounds, so you cannot give more than 215 pounds maximum.
It depends on the nisab of the recipient, of the country in which the recipient is. It depends also on the requirement of the poor person. The requirement of the poor person may be a house, so £250 would probably build the shed. So hence they require more. So you are allowed to give more in zakat in that respect. But in terms of the excess wealth that they may have, don't give so much that they will become sahibul nisab themselves. Obviously, Islam does want people to be the upper hand. So that's one reason. So later on, obviously, they will become, inshallah, Sahib Nisab. But in terms of immediately making them Sahib Nisab, is ideally not to do that. In that respect, Ji.
If you need a 10,000 pounds, for example, to build a house, are you allowed to give 10,000 pounds to a poor to build a house?
Absolutely, absolutely, you are. Yes.
That's what I want to know.
Ji. Yeah. Because that money is going to be invested in the house, and therefore, obviously, in excess, you won't have much to make him a Sahib Nisab. So, yeah, that's fine. There was one thing that I was going to say and I forgot about the Fuqara. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. Okay, there are some pools in which, or some areas in which zakah money is invested. And just to clarify one point here, many people say, oh, why is money being given to madrasas? Why is money being given to these ulama, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Whereas we are the very ones who are taken benefit from the ulama. They were students of the sacred knowledge.
Some of them collect zakat and all.
Yeah. Yes, salam. So, what was I saying? I was saying there are students in Darul Uloom who are miskeen, literally miskeen. They have nothing. So therefore, if they receive their zakat, you've got double the benefit. You are financially supporting them, and their financial support is at sadaqah jariyah, investing in a sadaqah jariyah, whatever knowledge they are going to learn, and whatever they pass, whatever knowledge they disseminate in the form of literature, in the form of lectures, in the form of students, in the form of islah, all of that will go into your account of deeds. The other thing is this: the madaris, they do hilay shar'i, which is from inshallah. One announcement, we also announced on Jummah Jummah al-Samad Farmada कि अभी नई मस्जिद जो एसएससी पे बनी है मस्जिद इस्लाम की शाख, वहाँ पे अभी माँ बहनों के लिए प्रोग्राम रखा गया है। उन्होंने सैयदतुना खदीजा रज़ियल्लाहु तआला अन्हा की याद में, की शान में हज़रत मुफ्ती साहब क़िबला बयान फरमाएंगे। आखिर में उनके लिए सवाल जवाबात का भी सेशन रखा गया है। तमाम बहनों से मैं request all sisters to attend this gathering. It has already commenced now until about 5 o'clock, inshallah azza wa jalla. They will be given time to ask questions, and their questions will be answered inshallah azza wa jalla by Hazrat Mufti Sa'ad Qibla at the new Essex Street Masjid. Another thing that they apply is hilay shar'i, which means where there is a poor person who is given the zakat money. So it's given to the poor person. Then this poor person, when he gives it back to the masjid or the madrasa or to someone, they can use it. It is no longer zakah. When it changes hands, it is no longer zakah. This is not what people say. This is from the Quran and Sunnah. Sayyiduna Ayyub alayhi salam made an oath that I am going to strike someone certain amount of lashes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, take a stick and let it have X number of 100 straws or 100, and strike it once. That will equate to the number of whips that you had intended. This is hila which Allah gave. In one hadith of the Prophet hadith, rigorously authenticated, Sayyiduna Barira radiallahu ta'ala, she was given sadaqah money, sadaqah meat. And she was poor, obviously. She was an eligible recipient of zakah. She began to eat from the sadaqah. So the Prophet said, will you not make us partake from that meat? She said, Ya Rasulullah, it has been given to me as sadaqah. The Prophet said, Laki sadaqah wa lana hadiyya. For you it's sadaqah, but when you give it to us, it is a gift. So the changing of the hands will change the concept, change the form. So this is absolutely permissible. Okay? So I wanted to clarify that point, because we hear rumors from people. First, they don't want to learn knowledge, and they don't want others to learn knowledge. Knowledge is the key core of Islam. Islam is only spread through knowledge. If we are going to close every single madrasa and darul, who's going to learn knowledge? And we already have Qahtul Rijal, a famine of imams and ulama. I'm not talking about here as well and elsewhere. People not inclined towards learning knowledge. So this is a way to support them. In the permissible way which Sharia has legalized, Sharia has made legal. So we should not question in relation to that. Okay. Zakah on young savers accounts, which you'll have access only when you reach the age of 18. So a person is valid, but he will have access to that money which is in his account only at the age of 18. I explained that when I was explaining about the pension scheme. Even though you do not have immediate access to that account, you still give zakat on it every single year. The other option the ulama says is when you have actual possession of that money, then you give zakat for all the previous years. Yeah, but obviously it's not the preferred option. Option number one is ideal. With land, if the land was purchased for sale, it is put on the market for sale, then you will give the value of the land as zakah, calculate as zakah when the year passes on it. Land for agricultural purposes, खेती के लिए रखा है, तो उसमें जितनी खेत होगी, उसमें से उशर या 20वां हिसाब निकालेंगे. There's also conditions for that. 10th or the 20th of the crops you will give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Land for no purpose is just there. There's no zakat on it. Like a house, it's just there. Allah. I think I am going to finish at this point. Inshallah. Okay? اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى الوجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا من فضلك علما يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم آت نفسي تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها فاغفر لها. اللهم ربي زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين. اللهم يا كريم أكرمني بنور الفهم وأخرجني من الظلمات الوهم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم ربي اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم ربي اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم ربي اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. رضي الله عنا سيدنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ما هو أهله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.